You're listening to Simply the Best Sports Take, the best podcast breaking down the best stuff in sports with host Sean Bingham. His takes are so good, he dropped the mic, but then you wouldn't be able to hear him, and that would suck.
Welcome into STB Sports Take, Simply the Best Sports Podcast. I am your host, Sean Bingham. Thank you for being here. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor Podcasts. Everywhere you get your podcasts, we are there. Please hit that subscribe button. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. I know I did. Shortly after my podcast on Thursday, I got to watch my Washington football team get a big dub on Thursday Night Football. That was awesome. We'll talk about that. Then on the weekend, Saturday, BYU goes down to ASU, ASU goes up to BYU. I went down to ASU. I was in the Phoenix area for the weekend. ASU comes up to Provo, picks up that hot L, and heads back home. So it was a good weekend. The Utes lose. Going to talk about that. Lots of stuff going on in the NFL. Zach Wilson looked like not good, and we're going to talk about that. So lots to talk about. It was a fantastic weekend. Aside from the Zach Wilson thing, I'm rooting for that kid. But tons going on. We got new college football rankings. College football is in full swing. And guys, it's interesting because, you know, I've said how I'm a much bigger fan of pro sports than I am of college sports, and I stand by that. I still love college sports. Love them. So much fun, so much passion, so much energy. Talent level's very high. It's nothing like the pros, but it's very high still. And it's funny, when I first started doing this, so it was clear back like 2010, I started doing a blog. And pretty much every week, the blog post that everyone looked forward to was my newest college football rankings. And so college football has been one of my biggest passions in sports for years and years and years. Granted, it has died off a little bit, but I will admit the resurgence of BYU and now like the relevance that will come with being in a Power 5 conference does make it more exciting. Utah's already in the Pac-12, so now the two biggest schools in the state can again be relevant because they'll both be in legitimate conferences that are exciting to watch, see if you can get a conference championship. BYU this year is of course, not in a conference, but they're 3-0, and they've beaten 3 Pac-12 teams, 2 of which were ranked. It's a big deal. It's like you're getting Kalani Sitake interviewed on ESPN. It makes it more relevant. It makes it more fun. So I'm excited. I'm excited for college football, and I'm excited that you guys care about college football here in the state of Utah and outside of the state of Utah. I see many of you in Pac-12 places and Big 12 places commenting on YouTube or hitting me up on Twitter. I see the analytics, where people are listening. It's very cool. Thank you for spreading the word. Please spread the word far and wide. Whatever platform you're on, guys, I don't care if you watch it on YouTube or listen to it on Apple or Spotify or whatever. I just appreciate you guys caring to hear what I have to say. So send in your takes, even if it's hateful takes at me. I can take it. I appreciate it. But let's just dive into the BYU game. That's the biggest news of the weekend. I said on Thursday's podcast that BYU had a statement game coming up. It was a chance to make a statement, a true statement. We beat Arizona. We beat ranked Utah. Pac-12. Now we've got ranked Pac-12 Arizona State. You don't want to lay an egg in that game, and they did not. They looked very, very good. Again, I was not there for this one. I was down in Phoenix watching it with some friends, but fantastic game. Cougars get the 10-point victory, 27-17, and I thought the team looked great. The play of the game is, of course, Jaren Hall throws an errant pass, gets picked off. ASU is just streaking down their own sideline, looks like a sure pick six, and Algier just chases this guy down, just trucking, and has the wherewithal to not just tackle the guy or just push him out of bounds, which would have been what most guys would do in that situation. And it would have been perfectly acceptable to have done in that situation. He full-on Superman jumps, uses the guy's shoulder as kind of a launching point, catapult, launches himself up with his left, and with his right hand comes around over the top and poof, punches the ball right out of his hands onto the grass. Jaren Hall, who also did not give up on the play and was in pursuit, is right there to scoop it back up. No harm, no foul. We get a fresh set of downs. That was incredible. That was one of the most brilliant, inspirational plays I've seen BYU make in a long, long time. You do not give up on the play. You go and you chase down I mean, they could have easily just been like giving it like a 3/4 effort, 75% kind of half sprint jog in pursuit. Like, well, we tried. Bummer. They got a pick six. No, he is on his horse, chases him down and doesn't push him out of bounds. Doesn't just go for the shoestring ankle tackle. Doesn't even go for the tackle at all. Jumps, boom, punches from behind, comes over the top of him. Direct contact on the ball. Knocks it loose. Jaren Hall also did not give up on the play. He's there to scoop it up. Two guys don't give up on the play, and therefore we get the ball back. If either one of those guys, Algier or Hall, if either one of them gives up on that play, we don't get the ball back. It's over. But both of them go in hot pursuit, and the ball comes back to BYU. And because it changed possession, it was just 1st and 10. We just lost. We just lost like 40 yards or something. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. That was the play of the game. It was absolutely positively the play of the game. And Tom Holmoe, athletic director for BYU, even said himself that to him that was his favorite play that he's seen in many years that BYU made on the football field. So that was spectacular. I loved it. Jaren Hall, by the way, he went out kind of scary. We thought maybe he was injured there at the end. And, we got to see Baylor Romney come in and toss the game-sealing touchdown. Turns out Jaren Hall just had the wind knocked out of him. He's totally fine. He finished the game 15 of 27, 214 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, a QBR of 70. So pretty good. Better than the previous game against Utah. The 2 picks we could do without, but he's getting better. I think this kid's the real deal. Was nice to see Baylor Romney come in, threw 1 pass, and it was for a touchdown, game-sealing touchdown. That was cool to see him contribute. Algier, of course, Tyler Algier had the chase down forced fumble that we just mentioned. He also rushed for 69 yards and a touchdown. He's been a workhorse for the Cougars. And then Gunnar Romney led the team in receiving yards again with 95 yards on 6 catches and another touchdown to go with the touchdown he got the week prior against the Utes. So BYU now 3-0 this season, 2-0 against ranked opponents, back-to-back victories over ranked opponents for the first time in school history to do it in consecutive weeks against ranked teams. First time ever to beat ranked teams in back-to-back weeks in the history of the school. Kalani Sitake's dancing on the sideline again. I'm sure Ute fans are all sorts of upset about that. We'll get into their disastrous loss against San Diego State here in a minute. But BYU's 3-0 in the Pac-12, and they're not even in the Pac-12. They're climbing the rankings. In fact, let's look at the rankings real quick. The new rankings are, so BYU was like 18th or 17th, or no, they were 21st. I can't remember what they were. I think they were 21st or 23rd. 23rd. I think they were 23rd. Sorry. I think they were 23rd. They've climbed up to 15th, and yeah, they were 23rd, and they climbed up to 15th in the AP poll, and they climbed up to 16th in the coaches poll. And look at this. So they're ahead of Wisconsin in the AP poll, which is correct. Behind Wisconsin in the coaches poll, which is completely incorrect. Wisconsin is 1-1. Okay, they're 1-1. They've not done anything. How on earth can they be ranked ahead of a team who has beaten 2 ranked opponents, 3-0, 3 Pac-12 teams, Big 5 conference teams? How can you have a 1-1 team ranked ahead of them? It's ludicrous. So coaches poll is a disaster. They've got Wisconsin ranked ahead. Iowa State, though, at 2-1, is still ranked ahead of BYU in both polls. What? What more do you want from BYU? Guess how many teams have beaten 2 ranked opponents so far this year? We're only 3 weeks in. So guess how many teams in Division I have defeated 2 ranked opponents? Alabama, Iowa, Penn State, BYU. That's it. That's the list. 4 teams have beaten 2 ranked opponents this year. 4. BYU is one of them. So 15 to me is actually a low ranking. Now, where BYU is going to get a little bit hurt is Utah lost to San Diego State in triple overtime. Utah is 1-2. They've played garbage Weber State. They've played, at the time, unranked and not Power 5 BYU. And now they just played unranked and not Power 5 San Diego State and lost. They lost to BYU. They lost to San Diego State. So there's that victory over Utah is looking worse, with each week. We'll see if Utah can pull it together and help BYU's strength of schedule. But that victory is not looking that good. So BYU dropped Utah from the rankings last week. They drop Arizona State from the rankings this week. So that could be a factor. But nonetheless, at the time of playing them, BYU is 2-0 against ranked opponents, 3-0 against Power 5 schools, 3-0 overall. I don't know how you can have them ranked behind Iowa State. There's some other teams I had here. Wisconsin, by the way, they lost to a ranked team at home. I think it was Penn State. Then they beat Eastern Michigan, and then they didn't play. So by not playing, somehow they're like moving up the rankings. They beat Eastern Michigan. Whoopity-doo. Ole Miss and Cincinnati also ranked ahead of BYU. Ole Miss is 13th at 3-0. Cincinnati is 8th at 3-0. All three of them, or both of them, have only played 3 cupcakes. No big games, no Power 5 schools, just 3 games that shouldn't really even matter. Arguably shouldn't even be on their schedule, but they're 3-0, so they are 8th in the country. Why is BYU not getting that? I think BYU should be ranked higher. I do. I think BYU should be ranked higher. So Ole Miss and Cincinnati we should be ranked ahead of. Iowa State and Wisconsin we should be ranked ahead of. So we should at least be ranked around 11th, in my opinion. And you start to look at teams like Notre Dame. Ohio State has a loss. Clemson has a loss. But we got to be real as BYU fans. At least my job is to be real. We should be ranked behind them. We should be ranked behind all of the undefeated bigger teams like the Oklahomas and Bamas and Georgias and Oregons and Iowas and Penn State and Texas A&M. Definitely ranked behind all of them. We got to prove a lot more than we've proven before we pass them. But these other teams, what has Cincinnati done that's so great that we haven't done at BYU? Nothing, in my opinion. So BYU should be ranked a little higher. Again, that loss by Utah to San Diego State's not helping any. San Diego State is likely a lot better than we've given them credit for. They are 3-0 with 2 of their wins against Pac-12 schools, Arizona and Utah, 2 of the teams that BYU has also beaten. But San Diego State now 3-0. Again, 2 of those against Power 5 conference schools. But here's the thing with Utah. I'm not going to hate on them too much. They still have a lot to play for because they're 0-0 in Pac-12 play, and that's the beauty of being in a conference. That's what BYU has been missing for a decade, is that once you lose a couple games, like if BYU is 1-2, the season's over. The fun of it is gone. It's exhibition only. It already was exhibition only, but there's just some excitement about being undefeated because BYU is the type that if they run the table, it's a big if. I'm not going to pretend it's not. It's a big if. But if they run the table, they will get into the playoffs. This year's schedule is tough enough that if BYU can run the table, they will get into the college football playoffs. They will. Utah can go 1-2 and still have a conference championship to fight for. They can still fight to win that Pac-12 South. They can still right the ship. They made a quarterback change this last week, and it was actually Charlie Brewer. Let's see, so it's Cam Rising and Charlie Brewer, and Rising was the starting quarterback until Brewer transferred from Baylor. So Charlie Brewer transfers from Baylor, Big 12 school, wins the starting job, has not looked good through 2.5 games, and so they bench him, bring in former starter, and, didn't look much better, but they go to triple overtime. We'll see what happens moving forward. My guess is you're going to see Cam Rising start next week for the Utes. That's my guess. Utah fans listening probably know a heck of a lot more about this than me. I don't follow them as closely, so I'm not looking at like every single thing that happens, but I know that that's what took place, and I would be surprised if we don't see him start next week. And if I'm not mistaken, there wasn't any sort of injury. It was just like, look, we got to try something different. And so we'll see what happens there. But again, neither one of them looked all that great, but I would imagine you'll see Cam Rising be the starting quarterback next week, and we'll see if the Utes can right the ship. But that's the beauty of what Utah is doing here, is they can still go and compete for a Pac-12 South championship. They're still good enough. The Pac-12 South is not that good this year. BYU has handed losses to 3 of their schools already. And so there's a lot to fight for if you're in a conference. So if you're a Utah fan, don't fret. All is well. And as a BYU fan and as a sports fan, and as a resident in the state of Utah, I'm rooting for the Utes to win because it only makes the state look better. It only makes BYU look better. So we'll see what happens there moving forward. But the playoff chatter is going to happen for BYU, and I'm here for it. It makes it that much more fun. And so let's just look at their schedule here. So BYU plays South Florida at home this weekend. So we had a lot of home games to start the season. Then we go at Utah State, then Boise State at home, at Baylor, at Washington State. Those are two tough ones. Virginia at home, then two cupcakes, Idaho State, Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern on the road, and then at USC to finish the season, which will probably be the toughest remaining game. So very good schedule this year for the Cougars. Two cupcakes there late, which are the type of games that I would argue should not be on the schedule. They're a disrespect to the sport. But BYU is just in the same system everyone else is. And as an independent, they've struggled to even get schools to want to schedule them, especially at that time of year, where a lot of teams are playing all their conference games. It's hard to find teams that will be willing to play you. So they've scheduled Idaho State and Georgia Southern. Those should be two easy wins. And it's almost like a couple of bye weeks before we play USC. And so that'll be good practice. Get healthy, get some reps in, try and finish off the season strong. But South Florida next week at home, that should be a win. Utah State on the road, that should be a win. That is always a tough game, even though Utah State's not the greatest program. It's an in-state rivalry of sorts. It is on the road. That is not, and it's also on a Friday, so it's on a short week. So that is not a guaranteed victory by any means, but it should be a win. So we should get to 5-0. Then we have Boise State at home on October 9th. That should be a win. Boise State's very solid opponent, though. Don't want to overlook them. Then at Baylor, that'll be very tough. At Washington State, that'll be very tough. Also, again, both games are winnable. They are. Those are winnable games. None of these teams are currently ranked. Then we play Virginia at home, then the Cupcakes, then at USC. We could run the table. The Cougars could indeed run the table. If they finish, what is that? Would that be 12-0? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That'd be 12-0. 12-0 with that schedule. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 games against Power 5 schools. That's what a regular school has, is 7 games against Power 5 schools, maybe 8 or 9. They have 7 conference games anyway. But most of them are scheduled in a bunch of, non-P5 schools for their non-conference games. So BYU will have the same number of Power 5 conference opponents. USC, Virginia, Washington State, Baylor, Arizona State, Arizona, and Utah. Yeah, and then South Florida's very respectable program and for a non-Power 5 conference. Boise State's a very respectable program for a non-Power 5 conference. Utah State's somewhat respectable. And then, of course, the 2 cupcakes I mentioned, Idaho State and Georgia Southern. That's a good schedule. That's a good, respectable schedule for BYU. This is one of the best schedules they've had since being independent, maybe the best. Well, there's some earlier ones that were better, but this is a very, very respectable schedule for BYU. You go 12-0 with this schedule, you get into that college football playoffs. You just do. You do. Because there will not be enough teams undefeated above them to warrant keeping them out with an undefeated record. This is not a Coastal Carolina schedule from last season. Or Southern Florida. This is South Florida from a few seasons ago. This is a legitimate schedule. This is Pac-12, 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 Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, Pac-12. Good schedule. It's a good schedule. So it's possible. And the mojo is there. What needs to happen, though, is we just can't get ahead of ourselves. We do this a lot. We get excited. And again, I'm here for it because it's fun. It's fun for the podcast to talk about the playoffs. But the playoffs are a reality for BYU this year. And we've got the momentum with the Big 12. We've got the momentum with beating our rival. What a monkey off our back that was. Beating 2 ranked opponents for the first time ever in back-to-back weeks. That's a huge deal. Confidence is there. Swagger is there. This could be it. This could be it. I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. Okay, moving on. That's actually really all I had for BYU and Utah. So keep an eye on all of that. But I'm glad the Cougars got the statement win they wanted. Very, very excited for that. Very excited to see if we can run the table. We got to move now to the NFL. And Zach Wilson, BYU's quarterback from last year, number 2 overall pick to the Jets. He was horrible yesterday. At one point, he had more completions to the other team than he had to his own team. He had 3 picks and 2 completions at one point. It was horrible. It was awful. It was a disaster. It was gross. He ended the game with 4 picks, 0 touchdowns. So now in the season, he has 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and it's not good. It's not good. And, before I dog on Zach Wilson, well, actually not before. I'm not going to dog on Zach Wilson because you're looking at what's happening with Carolina and Sam Darnold, the Jets' former quarterback, their former first-round pick, their former Zach Wilson, if you will. He's now flourishing with the Panthers. And what was the thing I said over and over and over again back on around draft day and the pro days at BYU when Zach Wilson was throwing those crazy passes the whole internet was just going crazy for? I was saying, I don't want him to go to the Jets. I don't want him to go to the Jets. Why would you want him to go to the Jets other than for bragging rights that he went second? It's a way worse situation. They're a losing franchise. They are known for just chewing up and spitting out quarterbacks. They just can't do it. Sam Darnold was Suckfest USA with the Jets for years, multiple years. He's now flourishing in Carolina with the Panthers. He's one of a few teams that is 2-0. His team, the Carolina Panthers, are 2-0. There's 5 teams, I think, in the entire NFL that are 2-0. Sam Darnold's Panthers are one of them. He looks night and day different from how he looked in New York. Now, I get it. New coaching staff. We were all excited about that. Coaching matters. Yesterday, it was a matchup between Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. Mac Jones is coached by Bill Belichick. He's part of the Patriots, the most well-run organization, arguably, in all of sports. One of the greatest coaches in the history of all sports in Bill Belichick. That's where Mac Jones landed. He was taken late, like 19th or whatever it was, 17th, I can't remember, but it was in the teens. He was taken late. Zach Wilson was taken second to the Jets. He's getting more money. It's cooler. He was taken second, so much cooler. Well, now he's 0-2. Now he's throwing 4 picks in a game, 3 of which were in the first half. And Mac Jones is kicking his butt. They're both rookies, and Mac Jones annihilated him. It wasn't even close yesterday. It was disgusting. Pulling up the box score here. Zach Wilson had a QBR of 8.8, a passer rating of 37, and all of that came late in the game. Those 210 yards he had, those were all late in the game when the game was sealed. The final score was 25-6 for the Patriots. Mac Jones, also a rookie, beat Zach Wilson 25-6. Mac Jones' passer rating was 4 times higher. His QBR was 4 times higher at about a 29 compared to Zach Wilson's 8.8. So it was about 3.5 times higher. Passer rating was more than double at 89. He had no picks, no touchdowns either. 22 of 30, 186 yards. He's just being put in situations to win. He's being put in situations to succeed. He's got a coach that understands things better, and it leads to winning football. So I'm a little bit worried for Zach Wilson. I am. The internet yesterday was being tough on him. He's in New York City. It's one of the biggest. It's the biggest city in the country, and they're tough on their teams and their players. And Zach Wilson, I'm sorry, you can't throw 4 picks, get sacked 4 times. Not good, man. Not good. So I'm worried for Zach Wilson. Coaching absolutely matters. Let's look up Sam Darnold real quick. So the Panthers yesterday, again, they beat the Saints 26-7. The Saints are good. The Saints are a good team. They beat them 26-7. Sam Darnold had a QBR of 78, passer rating of 99. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 305 yards. Let's just go to the league leaders and see where Sam Darnold is through 2 games. This is a guy that was not good, okay? He was not freaking good for years, 2 years with the Jets. So I'm going to stats for NFL. We're just going to see where Sam Darnold stacks up here. Okay, quarterbacks. Tom Brady dominating. Derek Carr, by the way. What did I say about Derek Carr? I said Derek Carr can ball. I said that in a podcast back on Monday, so a week ago today. I talked about Derek Carr being the real deal. He wins a Monday night game. He wins again yesterday. He's also 2-0, leading the league in yards passing. So, okay, we're looking for Sam Darnold. He's 11th with 584 yards passing, 68.5 completion percentage, 3 touchdowns to just 1 interception, been sacked only 3 times, QBR of 66, passer rating of 100. Dude, I'm telling you. QBR of 66.2, that's 6th in the entire league. Sam Darnold. This is the same guy who couldn't win a game. I'm pulling up his thing right now. I'm kind of doing this on the fly just because I'm telling you, coaching really matters. People don't understand how much coaching matters, especially for rookie quarterbacks. If you're put in a position to fail, you're going to fail. So his 3 seasons with the Jets. 3 seasons with the Jets. His highest QBR with the Jets was 45.9, which was his rookie season. So far, it's only been 2 games, but so far, 66.2. Just moving to a different system. Just get me out of freaking New York, okay? Get me away from the Jets. Passer rating. His highest passer rating was his second season, 84.3. This season through 2 games, 100.5. Last year, with the Jets, his QBR was 32.9. He more than doubled it so far this year by just moving to a different team. Passer rating 72.7, up 30% to 100.5. So I'm telling you, the point of all that is coaching matters. Zach Wilson, I said from the beginning, I didn't want him to go to the Jets. I stand by that. We're unfortunately seeing firsthand what that can mean. Yesterday was not Zach Wilson sucking and Mac Jones dominating. Yesterday was a matter of Bill Belichick being a far superior coach. He just is. He's a superior coach with superior game planning, with superior understanding of the quarterback position and how to put guys in a position to succeed. And that's what it was yesterday. It's just a better, and not just Bill Belichick, but the entire Patriots organization as a whole. So a little nervous about that. Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance and Justin Fields didn't really play much. Justin Fields did come in a little bit yesterday. He's going to start. That's why I put him on my fantasy team. He's going to start for the Bears. They get the win over the Bengals. And Justin Fields did come in because Andy Dalton got hurt. You're going to see Justin Fields start. There's rumors of Trey Lance also getting the start soon, and Garoppolo potentially, moving off onto a different team, getting traded, potentially to the Washington football team. I don't want Jimmy Garoppolo. I'd maybe take, but right now, Taylor Heineke looks like the real deal. I talked about that on Thursday's podcast. The whole freaking podcast was about how he deserves a real shot in Washington. He's the real deal, and he needs a chance to prove that. He could be a Kurt Warner type guy, where he's this undiscovered talent that just comes in and wins a freaking MVP, Super Bowl MVP. Not saying Taylor Heineke's going to do all of that. That's extreme. That's Kurt Warner stuff. But I do think he could be good enough to be a real starter, and he proved that Thursday night. So I want to keep seeing him play. But there is talk of Garoppolo potentially being traded to either the Washington football team or the New York Giants. And then Trey Lance would come in. But for now, neither one of them is playing much at all. Justin Fields did a little bit. But of the rookies, Zach Wilson was by far the worst yesterday. Trevor Lawrence wasn't a ton better, but he was better. I think he just threw 1 pick. Let me pull it up here real quick, and then we'll move on. But Trevor Lawrence, where are you, Jags? The Jags lost, so Zach Wilson's 0-2. Trevor Lawrence is 0-2. The top 2 picks in the NFL draft, 0-4. Trevor Lawrence loses 23-13 yesterday to the Broncos. And he had 2 picks, 1 touchdown, passer rating of 37, QBR of 30. So his QBR was, still really bad, but a lot better than Zach Wilson. So of the 3 guys that are actually playing, Zach Wilson just looks the worst so far, and it sucks. It sucks because I don't think he is the worst necessarily. I think he's just been put in the worst situation, and it's tough. So I hope he can crawl out of it. Rooting for my Washington football team. Side note that I just wanted to mention here to end the podcast, very cool and weird stat. Tom Brady is older than 13 NFL coaches. 13 NFL head coaches. Tom Brady is older than 13 NFL head coaches. Let that sink in. He's still dominating. That is all the time I have for today. I am out. Peace.
Thanks for hanging with Simply the Best Sports Take. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and check out STBSportsTake.com. Simply the best in sports.
'Cause we are warriors.